So, you want to play as the one and only soulless automaton. Well, there's a bit you have to learn about them if you don't want to combust into pieces. From Don't Starve to Don't Starve Together, strengths and weaknesses, here's everything you need to know about WX-78. Like all of my character guides, we're going to start with Don't Starve's version of WX before moving on to Don't Starve Together. In Don't Starve, WX starts with 100 health, 100 hunger, and 100 sanity, significantly lower than base stats, but they can be changed pretty simply. WX is the 4th unlockable character in the base game roster, and to unlock WX-78 you must get 960 XP. Let's talk about WX's strengths and weaknesses before moving on to general tips and tricks. For strengths, WX can consume stale and spoiled food with 0 penalty. While that may seem like a small change, veterans of Don't Starve know that food becomes practically useless for anything but hunger once it goes stale, so this will be a huge quality of life change. If you have the Shipwrecked or Hamlet DLCs installed, WX is also immune to the envenomation mechanic. Yeah, that's right, they can't be poisoned by any means. The only exception to this immunity is the gas rainforest from Hamlet. I guess the gas there must be corrosive or something. Now that the small upsides are over, let's talk about WX's 2 massive upsides. WX-78 is capable of eating gears. Gears are amazing for WX-78 players because they never spoil. They provide a massive stat refresh of 50 health, 75 hunger, and 60 sanity. But if that wasn't enough, they also increase WX's base stats. Every gear you eat provides 20 maximum health, 7 maximum hunger, and 14 maximum sanity. This does have a cap, but that cap is ridiculous. You get 400 health, 200 hunger, and 300 sanity once you have maxed out your gear eating powers. So while you may start relatively weak at 100 base stats, you can very quickly snowball once you find your first few clockworks, or brave the ruins for the first time. The second thing that is really powerful is that when WX is struck by lightning, they will enter what is called System Overload. System Overload is this little effect that, heals you for 100 entire health, and then for 6 minutes, it nearly doubles your speed, provides a large light radius, and makes you immune to freezing. All for the cost of 33 sanity. Did I mention it will stack as well? Yeah, it's pretty nuts. The amount of overload you have remaining can vaguely be seen through the light radius you produce. However, it won't start shrinking until like the last minute or so you won't know until the last minute. And when it does start shrinking, it shrinks pretty rapidly. Be aware that wearing any lightning insulation or standing near a lightning rod will cause you not to get this benefit. Iron Hulk pieces also will steal your lightning from you, if you happen to be playing on the Hamlet DLC. As for downsides, well, besides spawning with the worst stat line, which is a downside, albeit a very temporary one, WX also is not very fond of water. Being wet will cause WX to drain health at a rate of half a point every few seconds. This is a non-negligible amount of health, but it's easily countered with any amount of wetness prevention. An Ibrella, Dumbrella from Shipwrecked, or even many of the body slot insulators will work to prevent taking any damage from wetness at all. Other than these 2 things, WX is just a straight up menace. Definitely one of the stronger picks if you want to just overpower everything Don't Starve can throw at you. Now it's time for some WX-78 tips for Don't Starve single player, and then we'll move on to their Don't Starve Together version, which will probably be 80% of this video because they changed so much about WX with their skill tree. But either way, first, let's talk about some ways to induce system overload. In Reign of Giants and Vanilla, the only reliable method is by using a telelocator staff. This will cause WX to incur 2 stacks of overload, which is 12 minutes of overload. However, using this method will provide no health for some reason, I'm not sure why. Either way, it's better than simply standing outside getting soaked in spring and hoping that lightning strikes you. If you have access to the Shipwrecked, or better, the Hamlet DLC, then congratulations, now you can really charge up WX. In Shipwrecked, Hurricane Season is WX's strongest season. You may think that rain is absolutely lethal, however, Hurricane Season rain is pretty tame compared to the lightning. If you simply sit outside without any insulation during Hurricane Season, the lightning will easily keep you topped off on health, and at the same time, you'll farm nearly limitless amounts of overload. Of course, all of this will come at the cost of being insane pretty much all throughout Hurricane Season, but who cares if you move at nearly double speed? You can simply ignore your demons at that speed. Especially if you stack it with coffee, a walking cane, and a shark hat, which lets you hit some very ridiculous speeds. But Shipwrecked, when compared to Hamlet for the purposes of farming Overload, is a dumb little baby DLC. Real WX mains know that Hamlet is WX's paradise, and that's because of one creature, the Thunderbird. This is a bird that will shoot 3 lightning bolts at you if you disturb it. See why it's so good? Well, WX in Hamlet has infinite access to Overload. You can literally farm up an entire in-game year of Overload by just taking a walk through this painted biome every now and then. Or you can even use them as an emergency heal, because remember, each lightning strike provides 100 health. At WX's maximum health of 400, that means you need 1 Thunderbird for 3/4 of your health back. I don't know why I said that like that was weird. Either way, it's not bad at all. Hamlet's not only great for WX because of Thunderbirds, but also, you can literally never run out of food here either. Remember how I said WX is immune to the venom mechanic? Well, it extends far beyond snakes, stingrays, and scorpions. That venom immunity also acts as a poison immunity, which means you can eat unripe tubers from Hamlet for no downside. Tubers are actually a really good source of health when raw, and a great source of hunger and sanity when cooked, and are plentiful. It's like Hamlet was just made for WX or something, I swear. But hold on, let's take a step back real quick. What's the best way to get your hands on some gears to go from a squishy little 100 healther to a Chad 400 health bone-crushing machine? Well, my friend, funny enough, getting a boatload of gears is actually easier on Reign of Giants or Vanilla than the other 2 DLCs, especially Hamlet, where gears are non-existent pretty much. But I'll go over all 3 just in case you want to know how to get them on your starting DLC. For Reign of Giants and Vanilla, the absolute best source of gears is going to be rushing the ruins. Now, I know, it sounds scary. You think, oh, ruins rushing, isn't that what pros do? Well, ruins rushing in Don't Starve is actually 100 times easier in Don't Starve single player over Don't Starve together. So don't worry, here's what you'll do. If you're too scared to run down into the ruins with a torch and a spear, take a little bit of time to get set up first. Hammer down some pig houses, then save the hammer, get some armor, a hambat, and then grab some light bulbs from the caves to make a lantern. There you go, you're ready. Dive down into the caves, then look for a Bunnymen village. The ruins entrance is always nearby a Bunnymen village. If you're holding any meat items, try to stay as far away from them as possible, or if you'd rather play it safe, ditch all of your meat at home. You can steal their carrots for food, they don't care. Eventually, you will come across a Thulsite plug. Mine it, and then once you enter the ruins proper, you're looking for 2 branches. One is going to lead you to a maze. Here, you'll fight the Ancient Guardian. I highly suggest you do this. It's a pretty fun fight, and thanks to his reduced single-player health pool, it's not tedious at all here. This can reward you with gears to start your stat maxing journey, but the more important thing is the Seed of Ruin, which will allow you to regen the caves for rinsing and repeating. The second place is where you'll get guaranteed gears, the Sacred Biome, connected to the maze. And then the other offshoot is the Military Biome. Basically, it's a mini Sacred Biome. Here you can hammer broken clockworks for gears, or even get rooks to do the dirty work for you. The only clockworks that pose a threat here are bishops, but if you have decent armor, you can just tank them down. If you need an emergency heal or light, hammering a pseudoscience station will give you a level of overload thanks to the lightning it provides. And don't be afraid to do so. Remember, the caves can be regenerated with that Seed of Ruin that you got from fighting the Ancient Guardian, and one quick run to the ruins should max out your stats. For Shipwrecked, the solution is sadly to wait. The only reliable source of gears is Floaty Boaty Knights, who will only spawn when you kill a creature at sea, and they're kind of on like a weird chance percentage thing. I don't know. Sail around, kill as many jellyfish as you can, and then check back every few days. Eventually up to 3 will spawn, and I mean, you can gamble at the slot machine for gears, but that's a rabbit hole you may not want to open. Hamlet is unfortunately the most grim of the bunch. The only reliable and safe method of obtaining gears is through capitalism. You can buy gears for 20 oinks each at the Oddities Emporium on Palace City Island, or you can make it yourself if you somehow get the key to the city. But other than that, there is not really a good way to get gears. The Teleportato does still have the 2 bishops and 2 knights, so I guess that's your only good source of early game gears. But late game, you could farm the Iron Hulk on BFB Island, though I'm expecting you not to be doing that in the early game when you have 100 max health. You're probably going to be doing that when you have 400 health, otherwise that guy's just going to eat you. All in all, WX-78 is a character that requires all 3 DLCs to reach their full potential. Truly, a pay-to-win character. Good news for you though, Don't Starve is over 10 years old, so you can usually grab it and all of its DLCs for incredibly cheap. So just go for it, man. It's really fun to maximize all 3 worlds anyway, not even just with WX-78. Now it's time for the WX you all were waiting for. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's WX Don't Starve Together Edition. WX and Don't Starve Together has the exact same stat line as their Don't Starve counterpart, flat 100 across the board. Unlike their single-player counterpart, however, they also have a favorite food, that being butter muffin, which will give WX 15 extra hunger, making it a solid dish, all things considered. WX also now spawns with 2 new items, a bioscanalizer and a circuit extractor. Just like the Don't Starve segment, we are first going to start with the base stuff and then go over to the skill tree. WX-78 has changed so much in Don't Starve Together, they only retained one full effect from their old version, and that is their ability to ignore stale and spoiled food. Anything else? Well, it's completely different. Gears are still edible and provide the same stats as Don't Starve, however they no longer upgrade WX, and due to the fact that the ruins are much harder to renew in Don't Starve Together, it's not as smart to just chug them whenever you want. Lightning Strikes will still heal WX for 100 health, and cost 33 sanity, but System Overload has been removed entirely. And if that wasn't enough, Wetness has also been made significantly more deadly for WX-78. Instead of doing a measly 0.5 health per tick, WX will lose up to 9 health depending on how wet they are, while also incurring a mini stun, making wetness prevention significantly more vital for Don't Starve Together WX. So what happened? Why did WX go from an absolute Chad hydrogen bomb to a weak little coughing baby? Well, that's because WX was rebranded for a whole new type of mechanic, circuits. Circuits allow you to build WX in many different ways, but before we can talk about circuits, we need to lay the groundwork. You know, talk about that funky little charge bar you may have noticed, how to scan creatures to unlock circuits, and of course how to get your hands on some sweet bio data. The charge bar is directly under all of your other stats, and will naturally refill itself over time. If you're impatient, you can force a charge by either sucking it out of a Winona generator, touching a charged lightning rod, drinking Volt Goat milk, or eating Volt Goat shod fraud, or I don't know if that's how you say it, but I'm gonna pretend that that's how you say it. You can also get struck by lightning directly. All of these actions will refill 1 bar of charge immediately. Losing charge is unfortunately much easier. WX has a unique wetness meter, and if your wetness meter goes over this new silver threshold, you will constantly lose charges, draining to 0 pretty quickly. Other ways to lose charge are freezing, starving, and being frozen solid, which will cost you 2 entire charges instantly. Your charge bar doesn't matter at all until you've plugged in circuits, at which point the charges will determine if your circuits are active or inactive. But we'll talk more about that when we get closer to talking about individual circuitry. WX is not like most characters. Well, they're trying to be, but you have to actually earn your way to crafting your unique items. Circuits are unlocked by scanning many different creatures. Scanning creatures will also reward you with biodata, which is an important resource for crafting said circuitry. To scan a creature, first locate a scannable creature. You'll know if a creature can be scanned because WX will audibly notify you. And if that's not enough of a warning, your bioscanalizer will also blink and audibly make noise. Place the scanalyzer down, and then stay within the range while your bioscanalizer does its thing, and then once it's done, it will drop on the floor after ejecting its biodata on said floor, and then you will be rewarded with whatever circuit is related to whatever mob you just scanned. Not whatever circuit, but the crafting recipe, you know what I mean. Biodata is scaled per how dangerous the mob you just scanned is, and it can be repeated every few days. Now it's time to talk about how circuits work. Base WX with no skill tree involvement has 18 total circuit slots, divided by 3 into 6 different branches. Alpha circuits, which are related to stats like health, hunger, and sanity. Beta circuits, which are related to utility, stuff like speed, light, and storage. And finally, gamma circuits, which are related to active abilities. Not every circuit is built the same. Some circuits will take up only 1 slot, while some can take every single slot in its respective branch. In order for a circuit to be functional, all of its slots must be powered. For example, if you have a 1-slot circuit and a 4-slot circuit, but only have 3 charges, then your 1-slot circuit is the only one that's going to work. The 4-slot will be unfunctional until your charges return. Circuits can also be extracted from yourself using the circuit extractor tool, which will allow you to dig inside of yourself to take out the circuits. Extraction will cost 25% of the circuit, along with making you lose however many charges that circuit was taking. Make sense? Hopefully. Because now it's time to talk about each individual circuit. There's a lot, so get your brain ready because I'm about to drop a whole lot of knowledge on you. Let's start with alpha circuits, because they are all pretty self-explanatory and easy for me to talk about. The Hardy circuit costs 2 biodata and 1 spider gland to make, it takes up 1 slot, and is unlocked by scanning a spider. It provides 40 health per circuit, and due to its size, it can be stacked up to 6 times. Nice, simple, and effective. The Super Hardy circuit is a direct upgrade to the Hardy circuit. It costs 4 biodata, 2 spider glands, and 1 regular Hardy circuit. It takes up 2 slots, and this is unlocked by scanning a nurse spider. It provides a whopping 100 health per circuit, which is pretty nice. The Gastro Gain circuit is very similar to health, but with hunger. Wow, so cool. It costs 2 biodata and 1 houndstooth to create, it takes up 1 slot, and the circuit requires scanning a hound to obtain, and provides 40 extra max hunger, which is pretty boring all things considered. The Super Gastro Gain circuit, however, is actually pretty cool. It costs 3 biodata, 1 slurper pelt, and 1 regular Gastro Gain circuit to create. It also requires 2 slots to plug in. To unlock it, you must scan either a slurper or Berger. This one increases your max hunger by 100, which on its own is kind of boring, but the fun part is that it also slows down your digestion by 20% per Super Gastro Gain circuit. That's not all that bad. And for the final of the basic alpha circuits, we have the sanity circuits. The processing circuit requires 1 biodata and 1 petal to make, it takes up 1 slot, and to unlock it, you must scan either a butterfly or a lunar moth. It increases your max sanity by 40. The super processing circuit is a direct upgrade, requiring 3 biodata, 1 nightmare fuel, and 1 regular processing circuit to craft, and it takes up 2 charge slots. It requires scanning a sanity monster to unlock it, and this will increase your sanity by 100, alongside providing a passive 2 sanity per minute, which is not a lot, but enough to make it far less of an issue. There is only one more alpha circuit we must talk about, but it is truly unique, the Bean Booster circuit. This circuit costs a whopping 8 biodata, 1 royal jelly, and 1 super processing circuit to make. It takes up 3 entire slots and is unlocked by scanning the Bee Queen. This circuit provides the exact same benefits of the super processing circuit, but on top of that, it also provides a passive health regen. It's not very powerful by any means though, being only 5 health every 30 seconds, but hey, it's an infinite practically free heal after the initial investment, which is a rare commodity in Don't Starve. Now it's time to talk about beta circuits. Starting with the range booster circuit. This circuit costs 2 biodata and 1 compass to make, and it takes up 1 slot. To unlock it, you must scan a bird, any bird. This circuit will allow you to zoom out further, which can be helpful for console players or players who refuse to use camera mods. The next beta circuit is called the Chorus Box circuit. This costs 4 biodata and 1 baritone shell bell to create. It takes up 3 slots, and to unlock it, you must scan either the Krabby Hermit or the Crab King. The Chorus Box circuit will cause you to play a small melody when you have it powered that sounds like this. Very similar to the ragtime theme. The benefits of this is that it gives a small sanity aura alongside tending to crops automatically. The acceleration circuit costs 2 biodata and 1 live rabbit to create. It also is the largest circuit in the game, requiring a full 6 slots. This is your entire charge bar. To unlock it, you must scan a rabbit, and the acceleration circuit does exactly what it says. Causes you to move faster. 25% faster to be exact, which is pretty nice. The upgrade to this circuit is the Super Acceleration circuit. It costs 6 biodata, 1 gear, and 1 regular acceleration circuit to create. It also costs significantly less slots at only 2. To unlock it, you must scan a Clockwork Rook, either damaged or fresh, or the Ancient Guardian. This circuit is exactly the same as the acceleration circuit, providing the same speed buff of 25%. However, due to its size, it can be stacked. Each stack provides diminishing returns, however, with the second circuit providing 15% speed boost instead of 25%, and the third circuit providing only 10%. The thermal circuit costs 4 biodata and 1 red gem to create, and takes up 3 slots on the circuit board. To unlock it, you must scan either a dragonfly, a red hound, or a geothermite. This circuit has a wide array of effects. It will prevent you from freezing, provide a pretty strong heating effect to other players near you, essentially turning you into a walking campfire, without the fire risk of course, and it will cause you to dry off faster. However, all of this upside does come with a downside, because food will spoil 25% faster in your inventory with this circuit powered, which I guess could be a good thing if you want rot, but if you don't, just tough luck. The counterpart to this circuit is the refrigerant circuit. It costs 4 biodata and a blue gem to craft and takes up 3 slots. To unlock it, you must scan either the Deerclops or a blue hound. This circuit will prevent overheating and also allow you to cool down nearby players, turning you into a walking endothermic fire. On top of that, it will also slow down the spoilage of food within you by 25%. Wetness is also affected, but not unless you max it out. Maximum wetness will cause you to obtain 2 ice and instantly set your wetness to 0, which is pretty nice. And no, I know what you're thinking, you cannot combine both the overheating protection and the freezing protection from both of these circuits. It will just cancel each other out and do nothing for you. The electrification circuit costs 5 biodata and 1 volt goat milk to create. It takes up 2 circuit slots, and it can be unlocked by scanning a volt goat. The electrification circuit is essentially Thorn's armor, causing any enemy that hits you to take 30 electrical damage per hit. That's not all though. This circuit will also make you immune to electrical attacks, which can be a good thing or a bad thing if you want to be charged by lightning. The illumination circuit costs 2 biodata and 1 light bulb to craft. It takes up 3 circuit slots, and to unlock it, you must scan fireflies. The illumination circuit is incredibly simple. It gives you a small light radius that never goes away. It's not bad, not great, but after the initial investment, it's free, so, there's that. The super illumination circuit costs 6 biodata, 1 firefly, and 1 regular illumination circuit to craft. It only takes 1 slot on the circuit board, and to unlock it, you must either scan a depth worm, a bulbous light bug, or a skitter squid. This circuit is the exact same as the regular illumination circuit, however, it can be stacked much more efficiently due to its smaller size. The optoelectronic circuit costs 4 biodata, 1 moleworm, and 1 regular illumination circuit to create. It takes up 4 circuit slots, and to unlock it, all you have to do is scan a moleworm. This circuit is another very simple but very powerful one, because it is essentially a free, infinite pair of moggles that will automatically turn on in dark environments. It makes it very nice for caving especially. The final beta circuit before we move on to gamma circuits is called the spatializer circuit. It costs 8 biodata and 1 infused moonshard to craft. To unlock it, you must scan a Krampus. This circuit is a 1-slot elastispacer that will eat one of these slots in your inventory, which means you will now be able to hold on an infinite amount of 1 stackable item. If this circuit is unplugged with the item still inside, most of them will burst out of you like a balloon. However, if you have too many, they'll be stuck in a rummageable pile. Kind of like if you broke an elastispacer chest, if any of you know what that is. I don't know how many of you got to elastispacer stage, but it's essentially an elastispacer stage chest. Okay, I'm talking way too much about this stupid circuit. Let's move on. Now it's time to talk about the final type of circuits, the gamma circuits. These are all active ability circuits, and we're going to start with the redigestion circuit. This costs 2 biodata and 1 cattail to craft, and it takes up 2 circuit slots on your circuit board. To unlock it, you must scan a catcoon. This circuit will allow you to process rotten foods like rot, rotten eggs, and rotten fish into an edible NutriBrick. For 1 circuit, this NutriBrick costs 5 rot each, but the number is reduced by 1 for each additional circuit you have. NutriBricks can then be moistened by any means to turn them into edible little snacks. Before they have been moistened, NutriBricks will last forever, making them a pretty good emergency storage food. The blocking circuit costs 4 biodata and 1 shell mitt to create, and takes up 4 entire circuit slots. To unlock this circuit, you must scan a Slurtle. This circuit will allow you to use a new block ability to prevent a percentage of damage. It's pretty simple all things considered, but honestly, in my opinion, purposefully eating damage is not something that you should do in Don't Starve. Even if you have some extra reduction, it's still damage to you and your armor, so it's probably better to kite, especially because you're playing as WX who can reach some pretty crazy speeds. Next up, we have the Sonic Invoker circuit. This costs 4 biodata and 1 naked molebat nose to craft. It takes up 3 circuit slots, and to unlock it, you must scan either a naked molebat or a living mandrake. The Sonic Invoker will essentially give you the Scare ability, which functions identically to Abigail's Scare from Windy's skill tree, making most non-boss mobs run around in panic, which, I mean, it could be good all things considered, but yeah, I don't know about it fully. I guess it's good for the Mooncaller event though. The Chessmaster circuit is a very simple one. It costs 3 biodata and 1 gear to craft, takes up 1 circuit board slot, and can be unlocked by scanning a Clockwork Knight. What this circuit does is pretty simple. It allows you to tame 1 extra Knight, Bishop, and Rook, alongside allowing you to tame them without the need to stun them first. For a 1-slot circuit, it's not too bad, especially since there's no other 1-slot Gamma circuits, so it's a good filler. Just be aware that without the Tinkering skill, they will still be hostile to you. And for the final Gamma circuit, we have the Spin Cycle circuit. This costs 6 biodata and 1 down feather to craft, and it takes up 3 circuit slots. To unlock it, you must scan a Mosling. This circuit, when powered, will allow you to use any tool, which can be an axe, pickaxe, to use a spin attack, which is pretty cool. You get to LARP as a Beyblade, and I'm all for it. This allows you to chop trees faster and do damage a lot faster, and is especially powerful with the Shadow Maul. This circuit is primarily utility over combat, however, because yes, you can hit some crazy damage numbers and have AoE, which is rare and Don't Starve, but wouldn't you rather do this? Yeah, pretty sick. Almost every resource that can be harvested with a Void Scythe can be harvested by spinning. Spinning too long does cause you to get dizzy, so be careful if you're using this for combat. That's it for circuits, which means that's it for base features. It's time to get into the big boy part of this video. Yes, that's right, WX's skill tree. WX's skill tree is split into 4 different sections: circuits, chassis, drones, and affinity. Let's go ahead and start with the bottom circuitry branch. The first skill we are going to talk about is Right to Modify. Not only will this skill cause you to lose half the durability when unplugging circuits, which is 12% instead of 25%, it also allows you to unplug any circuit in your stack, which under normal circumstances you would only be able to unplug the topmost circuit, but with this skill you can unplug any of them. The next and final simple skill is Watts Up, which will give you a faster recharge rate amounting to nearly double as fast, as well as giving you the ability to lose 1 less charge when you unplug a charged circuit. That has at least 2 prongs. You can't just unplug 1-prong circuits for 0 charge loss. Either way, it's nice and simple, but these next skills, oh, they are anything but simple. The Tinkering skills will buff your circuits in a range of different ways. Alpha Tinkering 1 will buff your Gastrogain circuits, the standard Gastrogain circuit will gain a 5% slower hunger drain, and the large one will gain 5 extra, for a total of 25% slower digestion. It will also buff your sanity circuits, giving the standard processing circuit a 20% insanity aura protection, and the super processing circuit and bean booster circuit will have your sanity auras. Something you should know about both of these is that when it comes to stacking, they stack multiplicatively, which means you will get diminishing returns and they are capped. Alpha Tinkering 2 is where things start to get really cool. Hardy circuits are buffed, with the regular circuit providing 2.5% built-in armor, and the super hardy circuit providing 5% built-in armor. Unlike the previous circuits, these do stack additively, meaning you can max out with 17.5% free armor. Not a lot, but hey, it's free armor. It does stack with regular armor too, but it is a layered protection, so no, you can't reach 100% protection with a marble suit, I'm sorry. Gastrogain circuits get a second buff from this skill, acquiring even more hunger drain. Regular Gastrogain circuits get a 10% hunger drain in total, and Super Gastrogain circuits get an extra 10% for a total of 30% hunger drain. Remember, these are stacked multiplicatively, so you cannot turn hunger off. Diminishing effects and all that, you know. Processing circuits also obtain a second buff, with regular circuits providing 10% extra sanity gain from sanity clothes, and the Super Processor and Bean Booster gaining 25% extra sanity from sanity clothes. This percentage does stack additively, and it can be surprisingly handy if you happen to get your hands on, say, a Tam O'Shanter or something. The biggest effect this skill has is on the Bean Booster circuit by itself. While you are at full health, this circuit will now grant a shield that will stack depending on what your max health happens to be. It isn't a lot, but it is free extra health, which is pretty cool. Now it's time for the Beta Tinkering skills. Beta Tinkering 1 buffs your chorus box circuit to cause it to act like a one-man band, allowing you to tame both pigmen and bunnymen for free. This effect caps at 10 followers per circuit. The range booster is buffed in a way that helps out all of your drones. For each circuit you have plugged in, the Roto Mapper will gain a larger map reveal radius, the Zaptrocutor will be able to fly further away from you, and the Bioscanalizer's scanning radius will grow as well. The Optoelectronic Circuits buff is short but sweet. All it does is remove that yucky Moggle filter and give you something that's a lot closer to the cheaty night vision mod. The Refrigerant Circuit will now give you half immunity to fire damage, and yes, if you throw on 2 of these bad boys, it will mean complete immunity to fire damage. And the Thermal Circuit will do the same, but with freezing, giving you half immunity to being frozen, and complete immunity if you have 2 of them. Beta Tinkering 2 is another really fun one. Light circuits now provide a flashlight effect, giving you a much larger reveal zone, but only where you happen to be looking. If you're a fan of Project Zomboid, this skill will be right up your alley. The Electro Circuit now obtains the ability to turn you into a nuke after you take 16 hits. This explosion isn't all that great, doing 75 damage, but it is AoE and it can stack per Electro Circuit. And the more Electro Circuits you have in, the less you have to take hits. This synergizes well with the Gamma Blocking Circuit, though I still wouldn't use that thing because I don't like it too much. And finally, the Speed Circuit gets another short but sweet buff. It will now counteract any slowdown effects. This can be grogginess, carrying heavy items, or even standing on spider webs. With 3 speed circuits plugged in, you can practically ignore slowdown effects completely. And finally, Gamma Tinkering. Gamma Tinkering 1 buffs your redigestion circuit, allowing you to use spoiled food to make Nutribricks instead of just fully rotten ones. It also allows you to get the full benefits from eating spoiled food, so it makes it pretty useful actually. It's literally just free doubling up on your food if you're eating spoiled food only. The Sonic Invoker circuit has also been buffed. Now, instead of automatically canceling after a few seconds, it will allow you to hold the scare indefinitely. This makes it actually surprisingly good for multiplayer, as you can constantly keep enemies feared while your team picks them off one by one. But if you're playing solo, then, I don't know. Again, it might be good for Mooncaller event, but that's really it. Tinkering 1 also changes the Chessmaster circuit. Now, instead of being unstackable, it does seem to stack limitedly. I was able to get 5 of each chess piece with this circuit and tinkering. I'm not sure why 5 only. It's weird. Alongside that, however, it also makes Clockworks completely neutral to WX-78. That means for 1 gear, you can essentially turn off the secondary main threat of the ruins, and tame more of them, so it's pretty good with tinkering. For Gamma Tinkering 2, the blocking circuit gives you knockback resistance now. Yeah, that's it. It's a little underwhelming, but hey, this whole circuit just feels wrong anyway. And then it also buffs the spin cycle circuit, making you spin just a little faster. The top of the tinkering branch, which is unlocked after you get the Tinker 2 skill for either alpha, beta, or gamma circuits, is the off by 1 skill. A simple, but very powerful one. It literally just gives you an extra charge slot, giving you 3 total extra slots in the form of 1 alpha, beta, and gamma slot. Pretty nice. Okay, whew. Now that all the circuit skills are done, let's move on to the chassis skills. This branch is amazing as it allows WX to have a new revival option, a teleportation option, and even a way to provide some massive utility. It all starts with Cold Standby 1. This skill allows you to build the chassis in the first place. This chassis by itself will act as a second body, letting you swap between circuit builds and inventory loadouts at will. And it's pretty cheap, only costing 1 gear and 1 red gem. The next skill in this line is Inhabited Machine 1, which will allow you to use the backup chassis as a revive point. Reviving with a backup chassis will give you all of the stuff that was equipped on that backup chassis as well. Moving to the left of the branch, you have even more Cold Standby perks. Cold Standby 2 and 3 will each give you the ability to build 1 more backup body, with the final perk in this line being Remote Transfer. Remote Transfer is a huge one, as it allows you to upload your mind into any of your backup bodies, well, remotely. This allows you to fundamentally teleport without any of your items, but there's a workaround that we'll talk about in the drone section, so don't worry, you might be able to keep your items after all. Directly above the Inhabited Machine 1 skill, you have another skill called Warm Standby. This skill will allow you to have your backup chassis continue working their beta circuits even when they are powered down. At first, this seems kinda silly, until you realize that a backup chassis with a few illumination circuits suddenly becomes a free, infinite light source. Or a backup body with a endothermic circuit and an illumination circuit can become a free endothermic fire pit that also doubles as a fridge. The possibilities are actually pretty powerful. To the right of this branch, you'll find the Inhabited Machine 2 skill. This skill will cause you to drop a backup chassis where you die if you die with a full charge bar. This essentially gives WX a completely free revive just as long as your charge bar was full at the time of death. Be aware that this will not work if you already have your maximum amount of chassis crafted. And the final chassis skill is Inhabited Machine 3, which is a simple but powerful one, giving WX a full heal whenever you revive with a backup chassis. Now it's time to talk about the final section before the affinity section, the drones. Starting with Field Survey 1. This unlocks a rotomapper drone that will allow you to craft and send out a little reconnaissance bot to map out your world for you. And the best part is that it's completely remote controlled. Now, there is a max range, however, that max range is tied to where you happen to be, so you never have to worry about going too far away. No matter where you are at, the drone can always come back to you. It is a phenomenal tool for mapping out the caves, as it can travel over the void. Transport 1 gives you access to a portable storage unit. Transport 2 gives you access to an even better portable storage unit. Both of these cost the exact same, the only difference is that the Transport 2 unit can carry up to 6 items. This allows you to ship items anywhere on the discovered world, and yes, this will allow you to send items to one of your chassis before you swap to them, which is a great workaround for the whole you lose your inventory when you swap part of the whole deal. It also can allow you to save inventory spaces because you can just send all your loot home and then continue looting places. Like, for example, the ruins. You can just send all your stuff back to the staircase and get it on your way out. And the final drone we're going to talk about is the Telemechanical Enthusiast line, which will give you access to a Zaptricutor, a drone that you can use to remotely zap creatures from afar. Now this thing looks really cool, but guys, I'm gonna be honest, it's very clunky. And for the most part, besides niche uses like maybe a walled off spider farm or something, your points are gonna be better spent elsewhere. Telemechanical Enthusiast 2 does upgrade your drone to be able to go farther and shoot more before it must be recharged, but that's still not that great. Oh yeah, and you can recharge the drone by charging it at a lightning rod that's been struck by lightning, or Winona's generators. The final drone skill is called Signal Booster, and it's so simple I don't even have to change the graphic. It literally just increases the range of all of your drones. This includes shadow affinity drones, but we'll get to those guys soon. Now it's time for the affinity skills. Much like most characters, WX is capable of choosing between 2 affinities, Shadow and Lunar. The only limitation with these is that you must have the first chassis skill, you must have defeated the respective final boss, Lunar Champion for the Lunar skill and Ancient Fuel Weaver for the Shadow skill, and of course, they are exclusive, meaning you can only pick one. Let's go ahead and start with the Lunar skill. After picking the Lunar skill, you will have the ability to make a new antenna-like thing that you will put on your inactive chassis. Doing this around a Gestalt will cause your backup body to reanimate. Or, I guess in this case it would be to animate it. Whatever. The important part is that now WX can play with up to 3 of themselves. Yes, that's right. All you single-player people can finally play Don't Starve together with yourself. Different Gestalts have different effects. With a basic Gestalt, your WX minion will do half the normal damage. With a greater Gestalt, this seems to be reduced only around 25%. However, with a Rift Gestalt, like a Grazer or Incursive Gestalt, this damage reduction seems to be gone entirely, and your WX minions will function exactly like another player. When I say functions exactly like another player, I unfortunately mean that literally. You will have to take care of their hunger and sanity, as if either drops to 0, the Gestalt inside will die and you'll have to capture a new one. Thankfully, you don't need to craft multiple antennae each time, since when a Gestalt hunts a body, it will drop off, allowing it to be reused, which is good because those things cost a lot of biodata. This skill is, all things considered, incredibly simple. However, it is very powerful, because your reanimated bodies will not only use every single circuit they have installed, which you would have installed prior to becoming a husk, but they will also use armor and weapons. Unlike most follower creatures where you can aggro enemies and have them keep fighting while you're just sitting there and watching, possessed chassis seem to be direct mirrors to whatever you're doing. They only attack while you are attacking, and they only do work while you are working, which is kind of interesting. You'll also have to make sure to give them whatever tool you want them to use. The Shadow Affinity gives you a brand new circuit slot. This slot will accept Nightmare Fuel, Pure Horror, a Shadow Atrium, and a Possessed Shadow Atrium. Both of these are grouped into their own personal effect. I don't know why I said both of, there's 4 of them, I'm stupid. But something to note is that with any shadow-related item plugged in, you will gain the ability to eat Nightmare Fuel or Pure Horror to give yourself a temporary overcharge. This can be nice for emergencies, especially because Nightmare Fuel is pretty easy to come by, but it pales in comparison to this skill's other effects. If you plug in a fuel type, either Nightmare Fuel or Pure Horror, you will gain access to collector drones. These guys are pretty cheap and very awesome. As you would expect, they will automatically work with you to collect things, but the benefits don't stop there. If you create these drones and then move into a new body, that same chassis will become a passive resource collector. Kind of like a lure plant farm, but without needing to worry about items being digested. All items collected by an inactive chassis will be deposited inside of said chassis. The only difference I could find between having Nightmare Fuel and Pure Horror installed is that Nightmare Fuel allows you to have 2 drones, while Pure Horror allows you to have 4 drones. Now onto the other side of things. If you get your hands on a Shadow Heart, you will unlock the new Exploiterator drones, I think that's how you say it, I don't know. These drones will give you a damage boost per drone scanning the enemy you are attacking. It's nice and simple. This damage boost is also a percentage boost rather than a flat damage boost. I want to say it's around like 10% or something per scanning drone. The difference between a regular Shadow Atrium and a Possessed Shadow Atrium is the ability to craft 1 extra drone. Unfortunately, having a heart causes you to lose out on the collector drones, but again, that's what having multiple bodies is for. You can just have some collector bodies back at home and give your main body the damage boost, since you'll probably be the one doing the damage. Okay, that's not all though. I mean, these hearts are pretty hard to get, so just having a slight damage boost wouldn't be too crazy. With the Shadow Atrium, your chassis will get weird veins around it. This is more than cosmetic, as it essentially will turn your chassis into a boulder bow tree. You know, those trees you can get in the new... it's not really that new, it's a pretty old update, but it's still relatively new. And the trees create free loot every day based on the biome you happen to be in. That's what this turns your body into. Now, if you have a Possessed Shadow Atrium inside of your body, however, things get even cooler. You still get the whole boulder bow effect if you have an inactive chassis, but now on top of that, you get a new ability for your active and inactive chassis. When your chassis is inactive, it will now summon mimics every 3 or so days. You know, those post-rift guys that copy your tools? Well, yeah, the active ability goes hand in hand with this. As long as you have a possessed heart plugged in, you can now use mimicked items without them breaking in one hit. As you can see, here's me using a mimicked pickaxe with a possessed atrium in my body. And here's me using it without. Pretty cool stuff, although I'll be honest, it's a bit niche, especially because by the time you get a possessed shadow atrium, tools and weapons should not be a problem for you. Either way, I'll be honest, the shining star of this shadow branch has got to be the collector drones. This is the first time we've ever had proper automation in Don't Starve, and for the price of nightmare fuel, it's definitely worth it. And there you have it, WX's skill tree, and consequentially, everything you really need to know about WX-78. Be sure to check the comments because if I made any mistakes, they will be pinned down there. Sorry for all the cuts and stuff. I had to go back and edit this quite a bit because I was making this while the beta was out. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and check this video out for more. See you everyone, Polarlotus out. Bye-bye!